when they were being shifted to other camps all over, all over Germany and Poland and all these places. So again, why would the Germans spend all this time and money to bring all these people there, just to kill them? I mean, it would make no sense. It just doesn't make any sense. And house them, like especially in Birkenau with all the barracks there. And then, of course, these facilities had all the amenities that a town would have. They had the best hospitals. They had anything that you'd see in your town. I mean, you could mail things in the town. They had opera.
Money. They had their own money, right?
Yeah, they had it's called concentration camp money, because they did get a stipend, a little bit of money they could spend.
Yeah.
So these people, they came and went in these camps. Some of these people, came into Auschwitz to work and then they went home at night. I mean, they didn't all stay in Auschwitz. I mean, people were coming and going all the time. So if there was some sort of a mechanism for murdering all these people, don't you think there would have been, an outcry from people coming and going, telling you what was going on in the camps?
Now, are there eyewitnesses or people that stated this? Are there sources to get a hold on that has this information?
Oh yeah, the real truthful people that were in these camps, like these Christensen, his name was. There were some people that were stationed in the camps, and they said nothing happened. Okay, so
right,
I mean,
right.
But you never hear from them. You know what I mean?
No, of course you got to control the message. I mean, and obviously there were ovens at Auschwitz. There were bodies were being cremated.
Yeah.
And I think practically all around the clock, probably because of disease and typhus and these issues, right? I don't know how many ovens they had in total.
In all the camps, all three of the camps, Auschwitz one had an oven there. They had ovens there. Okay, I know they had at least two, but in all the camps there was probably around 52 crematoria in all the camps. Okay, and they weren't all functioning well at the same time. I mean, they had breakdowns in these and everything. So they weren't all functioning, all right? Auschwitz I was done with in 1943. I mean, that camp was all, there was nothing else going on there, Auschwitz I. They closed that down. Well, they didn't close it down, but, it wasn't in operation anymore from the aspect of what people think. So basically, Birkenau and Monowitz were going after that. But the crematoria, what happened there is, since they had such an outbreak of typhus in the camps, they had to build a lot of crematoria. And again, 50 crematoria wasn't even enough for them to deal with, a couple hundred people a day were dying, because of the sickness of typhus and all this and that. And even with that, they couldn't keep up with it. You know what I mean? They couldn't even keep up with that, with all these, crematoria, because again, they weren't all functioning at the same time. Some of them worked, some of them didn't, and this and that. So people don't really understand, how the process worked. But, the Germans, they tried their best to contain the problem, keeping these people healthy. And that's what people don't understand. If anything, the Germans did with the Jews, they actually kept them alive. And if they weren't in those camps, I would guarantee most of them probably would have died outside the camps.
Yeah, isn't that interesting? I mean, just this aspect, that's why this is such a outrageous story to people who've never heard it before, because it goes contrary to so many things that they've heard. That the very aspect that the reason why they shaved their hair, the reason why they issued clothes to them, and took their they were issued shoes, all these things was obviously done to try to control the typhus issue.
Sure.
And on top of that, you have the issue, of course, of the Zyklon B and whatnot that was actually used to fumigate right. Clothing and all these other issues. Tell us a bit about that and these things that we see with the blue on the wall and all that stuff.
Sure. First of all, let me just preface that to show that Himmler was in charge of all this. Okay, they make him look like he was the bad guy, but he was back in 1942 when they were having the typhus epidemics there. He was head of the camp administration, and he said to them there, he goes, look, you have a high death rate due to the disease. And he goes, you have to do something to reduce the disease. And so, what they started doing was they started feeding the people better and giving them things that would so they wouldn't die as quick. But again, part of that was the fumigation. They really get cooking on this fumigation. Now, a lot of people, most of the people today feel that the Jews were gassed in these gas chambers, but it's just the opposite. What happened was they were using the Cyclone B, obviously, to fumigate all the barracks and all these places, the clothes and everything, to keep these people alive. And when you go on tours of Auschwitz today, they never show you those fumigation places. And the fumigate in Auschwitz one, I believe the biggest building in Auschwitz one, other than the kitchen, was the fumigation building, and you never see it. It's never shown to anybody. Okay, and yet they have this huge fumigation complex that took all the people's clothes, fumigated all the clothes, fumigating all the bedding and everything. So the Germans really, really worked hard to keep these people alive because, again, they had to use them, for work, and they wanted them to work. But again, they make this crazy story up that, the people were being gassed and being killed. All the propaganda was being spread all through the camps from day one. And so that's the message that it got out, even though, you can't prove that anybody was gassed because there was no homicidal gas chambers. That's the bottom line.
Now, did the Americans and the British decide to go along with what the Soviets were kind of conjuring up at the time, or do you think that there was an agreement? It's very difficult to know, but do you think there was any kind of agreement between the Soviets?
Oh no, they were all in cahoots. And in fact, the Americans they dropped leaflets on Auschwitz saying that people were being gassed.
Oh, they did. I didn't know that.
Yeah,
don't remember hearing that.
They dropped leaflets saying that this is they had to spread this propaganda lie, and so people are being gassed in gas chambers and this and that. So when the people came into these camps, they honestly thought that that's what was going to happen to them. And then when they went into the showers and they took the showers, they thought they were going to be gassed, but they weren't gassed. They took real showers. So they were
the famous testimony with Irene Zisblatt, or whatever her name is. She says it was a miracle. Water came out instead of the gas. It's like, ouch. It's amazing that Spielberg included that in his movies, right?
Oh yeah, that. I actually watched that, I think, the other day. It was really silly, wasn't it?
The point we try to get across here is that there were rumors going on already before people arrived at these camps, suspicions. They thought what was going to happen, etc. Because
right.
We have so many survivors coming out afterwards and say, well, yeah, but I was there. I saw it, or I survived, or etc. But as some other revisionists have pointed out, there isn't a single one that has seen or been in the gas chambers and all that stuff and actually come out to see that, right, alive.
Yeah, see that's the thing that really is disturbing about this. There is not one real eyewitness that saw anything. Okay, they saw a lot of things, but they didn't see that happen. Okay, nobody ever saw anybody gas because it didn't happen. Now, what they must have done, this is my theory on what happened in Birkenau and in Crema 2 and 3. They threw the bodies in the morgue. Okay, they had like the underground morgues, and they had to be a cool space to put them in. So what they probably saw was that there was probably like a whole bunch of bodies in the morgue, and then what they did is they actually fumigated the morgue with the bodies in it.
Right.
That's what probably happened. That's what probably they saw. And as the bodies were already dead. The people were already dead. They already died of sickness and disease. They were waiting in the morgue to go to the crematoria. And so they fumigated, the area, and people, you might have had somebody that saw, I saw, the gas coming out of a cloud, I don't know, whatever. And they might have thought that what was happening. You see what I'm saying?
Right, exactly. And there's even concepts of that the hot water, the boiler system has been shown as some kind of device in the in the gas chambers and all that stuff. But this was probably hot, scorching water that was coming out. There are actually these images, there's these drawings of kind of gas coming out with the water and stuff like that, right? Like kind of depictions of what was happening at the time. But I can imagine it was probably pretty cold at that time, and in that but they had some gruesome winters in that part of the world too at that time, and it probably was plenty of steam even coming out from these showers.
Anyway, getting back to what you were saying about uh, the people were already predisposed of thinking that they were going to be gassed or killed. So when they went into the camp system, they already had that in their brains. So all these things, all these rumors were spreading. You see what I'm saying? So people on the outside now would hear these things, and people went into the camps. The Red Cross goes into the camps, and they look around. They see what's going on. You didn't see them say anything about homicidal gas chambers. How could you hide that from them? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You couldn't hide something like that from them. So the Red Cross, they write up a report. People dying, they're getting sick, and there was nothing written up bad about what was going on in the camps. The Red Cross brought stuff into the camps, supplies to help the people, to feed the people. Where was the big problem? There was no big problem.
Do you think that a lot of people, or there's some that knowingly are lying, or do you think that most of them are kind of, they were convinced to a certain degree that it was happening, and they have been kind of, I mean, I can't even remember as a kid sometimes, some things you're kind of drawn into it, you're thinking about stuff, and it almost like you end up believing yourself. I don't know if they,
well, right. No, that's a real good point. But see, the mind can play tricks on you. And here's what happens. I think what happened was with a lot of these people, because they were, they heard all this propaganda, all these horror stories. I wouldn't doubt that some of them started dreaming all this in their dreams. Okay, so then when it came to tell the story, they just incorporated their dreams, and they actually believed what they dreamt.
Yeah, wasn't there someone said it was real to me? I forget who said that.
Well, yeah, I know Rosenblatt in one of his interviews. He said something about something like that too. They asked him, "How come you said something if it wasn't true?" And he goes, "Well, I wanted it to be real, or it was real to me." I remember something to that effect. But no, I can understand. See, the mind is very interesting. Because if they already had nightmares about what was going to happen to them, I'm sure a lot of those nightmare scenarios came out when they gave their testimony when they were talking to Spielberg. Remember Spielberg? He said he interviewed 50,000 people. To do his show. Baloney. His show.
By the way, do you know if those are available, like archives, and where
sure.
he
Yeah,
have them?
You could probably get them. I'm not sure what university it had, but I remember one of the revisionists who does videos. I don't know if it was Eric Hunt or I forgot which one. It might have been Eric Hunt. He was actually getting into all that stuff, going into the original videos and stuff. And once they found out who he was, they kicked him out of the building. So.